Hi there. I'm going to break up the process of throwing a cylinder into some simple steps. I'm going to use water, an arrowhead tool, a pin tool, a sponge, a rib, and a cutting wire. Firstly, you'll need to prepare your clay. Make sure your clay has good consistency. If it's too hard, you'll struggle, and if it's too soft, your pot will collapse. If you don't know how to prepare your clay, there's a link at the end of this video. Next, throw down your clay. The clay needs to land with a bit of oomph. Hold a finger against the clay where it meets the wheel to smush it to the wheel. This will help make sure the clay is properly stuck to the wheel. Then pat it into a good shape. A cone shape is great. Now center the clay. Wet your hands, brace your elbows against your knees to provide stability, and squeeze the clay equally with both hands. I'm using the palms of my hands. My fingers are wrapped around the clay. Start right at the bottom, letting the clay rotate under your hands. The clay will feel a bit bumpy. Now squeeze evenly and bring your hands up slowly. So bring the clay up into a tall cone. You can have the wheel going quickly for centering, but your hands should be moving up the clay slowly. You'll need to adjust the pressure as you get to the top of the cone. So if your hands are dry, get more water. Now we're going to push the cone down. Curve your left hand around the top of the clay. Place your right hand at an angle on top of the clay. Interlink your thumbs together and push down with your right hand, all the way down to the wheel head. You should feel the clay slowly become less bumpy. You'll need to do this a few times at least. Keep on going until the clay is centered. You'll know that the clay is centered when the clay feels still under your hands. Push the top of the clay down flat. Use the outside of your hand with your hand at a bit of an angle. Next, you'll open up your pot. First, push down. Place your fingers around the clay, place your thumbs in the middle of the clay and gently push down. Try to stop when the base is about 1 centimetre thick. Stop the wheel and check the thickness of the base with a pin tool. Once the base of your pot's the right thickness, we're going to open up your pot. Inside the hole you've just made to open up the pot by dragging your fingers towards you, forming the base of your pot. Bring your fingers out parallel to the wheel head. You'll now have an open form. Now compress the rim of your pot and use a sponge to remove any water from the inside of your pot. Pulling up the walls. With one hand on the inside and one hand on the outside, gently squeeze the clay between your fingers and slowly come up. As you squeeze, you should feel the walls of your pot rise. For this part of the process, the wheel should be going quite slowly. Once you get to the top, compress the top of your pot. Use 2 fingers to support the rim and press down lightly with the other finger. Now we're going to come up again. You can use different parts of your fingers or even use a sponge if you wish. Do this as many times as you need. Compress the top as you come up. And remember to remove any water from the inside. At this point, you can shape and smooth your pot. Now trim the base of your pot with an arrowhead tool. Now to cut the pot off the wheel. Splash a little water on the wheel head. Hold the cutting wire between your hands so that your thumbs can press the cutting wire against the wheel head. Make the wire just a little wider than the base of your pot. Hold the cutting wire taut, otherwise it will cut through the base of your pot. Hold the taut wire against the wheel head and drag it under your pot. You should feel the pot move a little, And you can slide the pot off the wheel head into the palm of your hand and onto the waiting board. Let me say, there are different ways of throwing pots. There's a lot of variation in technique, and that's great because if something's not working for you, try it a different way. In future videos, I'll spend more time on some of the techniques that cause the most grief and explore some of the various techniques that might help overcome. Remember to wrap up your pot to dry it slowly so that you can trim your pot when it's leather hard. My next video will be a quick start to trimming your pot ready for the first firing. Once again, like, share and leave a comment. If you find these videos helpful, subscribe to this channel for my latest video updates, and as always, keep on potting.